Welcome back, WNST, Chester, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We have merged the streams here this week between WNST.net and the new thing we're doing. We hope you dig the new place, but we're still doing some of the old stuff. And, you know, we have a brand new sponsor, and they're not even really open until this weekend at El Guapo. And they offered me a black shirt or a green shirt. And my wife's like, take the green shirt. Green goes with your eyes. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be wearing an Eagles green shirt, talking to all these Eagles green people while their defense is playing like Mr. Yuck right now. Dave Spadaro has been all things Eagles and all things Eagles insider for a long time. We've had a lot of fun with him back when the Eagles sucked, and then when they were good, and then when they won the Super Bowl, and now we have to play him this week. Dude, I have so many jokes I could drop on you and do all sorts of Philadelphia stuff. I'm coming up this weekend. My wife's not going to get yelled at. I can wear purple if I want. Nobody's going to say anything. But the whole notion of where we are in the middle of a plague and playing football, I just want to welcome you in. I hope everybody's safe up there, and Schwartz and all my friends up there in Philly are keeping the faith. And I hope we come in there and just beat you guys this week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Eagles are struggling right now, but Nestor, you're right. And I like the positive message, and football is entertainment. I will say this, everybody is healthy at NovaCare. The Eagles have done a really good job following the protocols. The NFL's in a scary spot here with all of these outbreaks. But I think the Eagles feel like they're in a good place that way. And even at on the field, 1-3-1's not good, but in the NFC East, we still got a chance. So long season ahead.
Before I get into the actual Eagles thing, I've taken the bigger view on this, and it's important to point this out because, you know, before I made my move into doing different things, the last 6 months, there have been no sports, right? So I've made a living doing sports since I was 15 years old. I turned 52 this week, right? So it's been my life. Thank you very much. It's Dude, you have no idea how much I love Philadelphia pretzels. I've learned that, not having one for 6 months. You know, I even shared, like, my wife and I spent a whole week watching Live Aid just to sort of celebrate South Philly during the summer back in July. So, you know, I'm looking forward to getting up there. I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing whoever I see, you know, for the 10 minutes that I'm up there. But I miss all of this, and I'll even miss the booze. But the weird part of this week for me has been what you just said. We're in a really weird place here, man. Like, one positive test and the whole thing. And we thought that with the Marlins, right? And now baseball looks like they're going to finish this thing in the bubble. They're even letting fans in Texas because, you know, they're trying to get the right guy from New York elected. So I go through all of the political side of it. But the truth in seeing LeBron James the other night, and I'll be honest with you, dude, I don't watch the NBA. I haven't watched. It's one of the reasons I'm doing other things because I've moved on from some of that stuff. And some of the people like Ted Leonsis have moved on from me and from our city, quite frankly, after they won a Stanley Cup and didn't bring the cup to my city. So certain things that have aligned me to that. But they finished their season, and they got paid. And everybody that was employed stayed employed. And all the players got paid. And all the sponsorships got paid. And even though the TV ratings were down, they finished it. I tell you what, hockey finished it. The NBA finished it. Baseball looks like they're going to finish it. And the NFL right now, as you've pointed out, they really need to be taking a hard look at whatever they're going to be doing that's going to look like a tournament in the early part of 21 and where the tournament's going to be and how, because I tell you what, we think we're going to be in the Super Bowl, bro, but I don't think we're running bus trips to Tampa. You know what I mean? And I'm not convinced that they're going to play that on time. So I would think that they're really having a real hard scramble up at Park Avenue right now on all of this because they need to get paid and they need to finish it to get paid.
Yeah, and I think they will, Nestor. I think that's why the practice squads have been increased. I think that's why there's been a re-emphasis from the league to the teams on following protocols. Why they've been really flexible, moving the games around and showing some. Look, the NFL doesn't really budge for anybody, right? But they are in this instance, and the teams have to comply. So I really don't have any doubts that we will finish the season. But I think that fans need to know that if your team has an outbreak, you're going to see a lot of practice squad players, or you're going to see your team not report to your facility and still play that week. You're going to see your team penalized heavily. Teams and players and coaches and administrations, staff members, we all have a responsibility to follow the rules and to put our league first, not our personal interests first. And so I think that that's where the NFL is headed. I do think the season will continue. I still think there's going to be a lot of hiccups here. And then hopefully in Florida in February, maybe there'll be some fans of the game. I can't imagine a Super Bowl without fans, because the fans are what the NFL is all about. Florida is a maverick state. So I would imagine at some point, in some way, there will be socially distanced, physically distanced fans in Tampa.
Dave, for you and your football team and whatever this has been, and I guess I'll take this back to the first day of training camp where everybody's wagging a finger and, there's big outbreaks all over the country back in July. And then your coach, comes down with it. And, as literally it was the day after John Harbaugh's on a Zoom with all of us saying, we need to do this and we need to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, man, there's still some people that watch too much Fox News that don't understand the virus as well, that it's not all the responsibility in the world. And Dick Cass came on with us 2 weeks ago, Baltimore Positive. If your tight end has a 6-year-old daughter that actually goes to a school and comes home, you're going to hug said daughter, and that's where the bubble comes in, right? That's where when I look at the NBA and I look at people moving into an area like, South Korea and wristbands and 6 feet away and all of that stuff, right? That at some point that's going to be the issue. But you saw it right in the beginning. It didn't take long in your building to figure out your head coach had it, right?
Yeah, and I think that was a wake-up call to everybody and just a sudden realization that, everybody is capable of attracting this virus. It is not a partisan virus. It is not going to have demographic norms. It is going to be one that is looking to infect anyone who puts themselves in jeopardy. And so having Doug come down with it, unfortunately, he was able to recover quickly. Doesn't seem to have any lingering effects from it. Very encouraging that way. But I think everybody looked at it and said, wait, if our coach can get it, we're in a safe environment here at the NovaCare complex. But when you go home, you've got to be diligent and responsible. And so, the Eagles have been, fortunately, look, the record's not very good, but the response to COVID and the discipline that the players have shown and the coaches have shown and the administration have shown, I think is really admirable. And Eagles are proud of that. We hope the football turns around, but more importantly, we hope everybody stays healthy throughout this 2021 journey.
Well, let's talk about the football and the team, the construction of the team. And look, man, we won Super Bowls around here, and it's a lot of fun to see Kelsey out there in the suit, and everybody's greasing up poles, and you're all eating cheesesteaks and throwing a party. And then the aftermath of that, and we're dealing with a little bit of it here. We haven't won anything. We were just 14-2 last year, and spit up our lunch in the first playoff game. Is everybody can't get paid, right? The Ravens just paid Marlon Humphrey last week. Peters is under contract. Lamar's on a first contract. Stanley's going to get paid. Andrews is going to get paid. And in Philadelphia, when you win, it's NFL. It's not for long. At some point, reality sets in and you can't keep players. And it feels like a long time ago that you guys won the Super Bowl to me. It feels like a long time ago Torrey Smith was an Eagle and Joe Douglas was there. And, a lot of missing pieces. Nick Foles, my wife loves Nick Foles because he conducted himself so well at the Super Bowl after party in Minnesota that night. So she loves Nick Foles. So seeing him throw it around, but I see all of your players in other places.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, they've I don't know if I'd agree with that because they've done a pretty good job of keeping the core together through the years. And where the Eagles have had trouble, Nestor, is that the draft has not produced top-end talent, okay? 2017 draft, Derek Barnett's your number one draft pick. He's been an okay, oft-injured defensive end. 2018, no first-round pick. They traded it to Baltimore. Baltimore takes Lamar Jackson. Eagles get Dallas Goedert, tight end, second round. He's been hurt this year. 2019, first-round draft pick, Andre Dillard, left tackle of the future. Well, the future was here. He tears the biceps in training camp. He's out for the season. So injuries have contributed to it. A lack of production has contributed to the top end of the draft from contributing. So when you've got it, you know this, but what Baltimore does as well as anybody in the league, they replenish the roster. And the Eagles tried to keep that core together, did a good job of it through last year, and wanted to transition to a younger roster this year. And it's been really hard to do so. Dillard gets hurt. Brandon Brooks gets hurt. They have to bring back a 38-year-old Jason Peters. They've got Alshon Jeffrey still coming back from an injury. Deshaun Jackson coming back from an injury. And they don't have the young players who stepped up and replaced those veterans. So it's very difficult to transition a roster when your young players are not there, when they're not that high-end talent, not productive players. So this offensive line has been decimated. The wide receiver core has been decimated. The running back group is okay, but they really haven't gotten much beyond Miles Sanders. The tight end group is down one, Dallas Goedert. The defensive line has had injuries up and down. The safeties have had injuries. The linebackers, they just don't invest in linebackers. They're not particularly good. So it's been a tough road here as the Eagles transition the roster. And nobody wants to say we're rebuilding in the NFL. Everybody wants to say we're reloading. And the Eagles are kind of caught betwixt and between, where they have some young players that they want to develop, but they've got some older players. And I'll give you a great example, okay? Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Baltimore this week. But on Sunday in Pittsburgh, a young kid named Travis Fulgham, in his second game as an Eagle, 10 catches, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. The week after catching a touchdown pass against San Francisco, eyes open. Eagles claimed him late in the training camp period. Nobody thought much about him. Promoted from the practice squad 2 weeks later. He's one of the most productive receivers in the NFL.
And meanwhile, I'm watching Nelson Aguilar catch passes elsewhere, which is why I even said what I said about seeing Eagles in other places.
Yeah, Nelson's time had come and gone. Nelson was not – he was hurt at the end of last year.
But that's the kind of production you were looking at from him, literally, when you drafted.
Right. Well, he was really good in the Super Bowl year, but otherwise not really. So anyway, so you've got Travis Fulgham. You've got Quez Watkins, a draft pick. You've got Jalen Reagor, a draft pick, who's hurt. What happens when Alshon gets healthy? What happens when Deshaun gets healthy? You're going to go back to the veterans? Is that going to help develop your young players for the future? This is what I mean when I say that the Eagles are betwixt and between. They're a team that's trying to transition to younger. At the same time, in a very weak NFC East, they know they have a chance to win the division. So do you go with the veterans who have been there and done that?
Well, and then there's Carson Wentz in the middle of all of this, and where the Houston Texans begin the season 0-4. You know, they don't fire the quarterback, right? The Atlanta Falcons don't fire Matt Ryan. They're going to bring him in for consultation on, whatever they're doing there as well. But I think there is something about being that pick and being that guy. And you've already brought up Lamar Jackson's name. You didn't even bring up the green suit he was in that night. But watching Lamar do what Lamar has done, and even for, my old Philly compadre Joe Flacco getting kicked around up there in that Jets helmet last weekend, I think for everybody to watch what the Ravens have done with Lamar and what the organization has done with Lamar, that no other team really wanted Lamar in that way and certainly weren't going to build around him. Now we have questions here when we fall behind by 2 touchdowns. How do we get back in a game? They don't fall behind much around here, but when they do, it's trouble, as you found out against Kansas City. And I think the hardest thing coming back in 14-2 is just how much do you measure yourself against last year? Because this offense isn't as good as it was last year, but it's been good enough to win football games 27-3.
Yeah, and Nestor, what the Ravens fans and the Ravens team will measure is when you get to the playoffs. We went through it with Andy Reid. 5 NFC championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance, no Lombardi trophies. So all that matters, look, the Ravens, I would imagine fans are like, okay, well, the Ravens are going to win in the playoff, win in the regular season and get to the playoffs. Then what? So Lamar Jackson, the next step for Lamar Jackson is proving that he can win from the pocket. We all know that he can run with the read option. We all know that he can change defenses around. But when you get to the playoffs, how do you win? So with the Eagles, we're in a different situation. We've made the playoffs each of the last 3 years. We won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. But right now, we're a team that's not playing good football, that's getting, blown out by the Rams, can't finish against the Steelers, loses to Washington, and ties Cincinnati. Is that a good football team? Are we a young team? Are we an old team? Are we an experienced team? Are we a transitioning team? What are the Philadelphia Eagles? I think this team just has not found an identity. So 2 teams, as I look at Sunday, the Ravens are an established, one of the best NFL teams right now. No doubt. What are the Philadelphia Eagles? The Eagles are fortunate to be in the NFC East at this point with a 1-3-1 record.
Well, I was pulling for you. I mean, I got my green shirt on here from El Guapo. For you and everyone else, I want to hold my ballot up. If you're in Pennsylvania, Spadaro, vote. Even if you're in Jersey, vote. Everybody vote. Okay.
Hey, Nestor, I went to Pennsylvania. Philadelphia opened 17 areas, 17 polling locations. So I went to Temple University's Leah Corus Center. I rode my bike there. I pulled in. Nobody was in line. I filled out my information. I went over and got my ballot, filled out the secret ballot, signed it correctly, made sure that it was signed correctly, went to the makeshift polling area, cast my ballot, filled it in, sealed the envelopes, deposited it into a guarded box. Easy. In and out in 10 minutes.
Well,
So,
I need guys like you in
America.
Pennsylvania voting, especially in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is a huge, huge state. And look, we're seeing it in Georgia. We're seeing it in around the country. In Houston on Tuesday, people are going to walk over broken glass and stand in line for 12 hours to do the right thing and to vote and to have their voice heard. That's what makes America great, the opportunity to make a difference. And in 2016, too many people were on the sidelines. That is not going to be the case this year.
I certainly hope that is not the case. We will be on the sidelines this week. I'm doing the road games, Dave, and Luke is doing the home games because we only have one press seat in the stadium, right? So I flew down to Houston and sat in an empty stadium. I went down to D.C. and sat in that awful corner of the end zone where you can't even see the down and distance 2 weeks ago. I'll be up in Philadelphia this week. Fans, where's Pennsylvania on allowing people back into the stadium? There had been some talk that maybe, and I know the Ravens are also in the maybe stages for the Pittsburgh game in a couple weeks.
So literally, Nestor, as we speak, the mayor of Philadelphia and the health officials are making an announcement as to the status of fans in Philadelphia. In Pittsburgh last Sunday, the Eagles had 5,500 fans in attendance, Steelers in Pittsburgh. So in Heinz Field, they're allowed. At Lincoln Financial Field, we find out today what the status is and whether that applies for Sunday or beyond. Our numbers have been rising in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia County, so there's some concern there. But literally, as we speak, they're having a press conference to determine that and to announce the decision.
I'm not just saying this because of how I feel about your fan base. Stay home. Everybody stay home this week. I don't want any fans there this week. Come on. Let them come back next week.
You're terrible. Take off that green shirt. How dare you? How dare you?
Good. I feel like I've created a little war with the Philadelphia people.
Eagles fans are unbelievably loyal. They're passionate. They're great.
And they can watch the game on TV this week and wash their hands and wear a mask. Stay home.
Yeah, well, wear a mask for sure and wash your hands, no doubt. But fans in the stands, we would love to see it.
Go vote. Vote. That's the most important thing. Take care of yourself. I hope I see you this week, even at 6 feet away with an elbow with a mask on or whatnot.
You'll be in the press box, right?
Yeah, so it's important. And don't lie to me, all right, because you're real Philly, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want a cheese. You gave me a cheesesteak recommendation. I tried it. It was very good. I went up to the Man. I think I had you on like 2 summers ago. I went up to see Robert Plant, I think. So this time around, it's about pretzels, okay? And it's important because I haven't had a Philly pretzel like 6 months, and I'm really craving one. Like the supermarket has, Philly style.
Nestor, I will bring you a soft pretzel on Sunday. I will go to the Philadelphia Pretzel Company, and I will get 3 or 4 pretzels for you.
They don't have those in the press box, though. They're not going to have that. So
they do have, but they're not as good as the ones I'm going to bring you. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I will bring you soft pretzels, and you will be a happy guy. And if you want to stash some of the ones from the press box, feel free to do so.
All right, man. Socially distanced, COVID-free. He is Dave Spadaro. He does all things Eagles, podcasting, working, writing, and you can find him anywhere. The good bird.
Wherever you find the Eagles, you'll find me. Yeah.
You know what I'm hoping this week? A shutout, so I don't hear that song. I don't want to be hearing that song this week.
Oh, so you want the Eagles to shut out the Ravens, and then you won't hear the song anyway because you're in the press box and it's hermetically sealed, so you won't hear anything anyway.
That'd be like sounds of silence, like Simon and Garfunkel.
Hey, fly Eagles fly, Nestor, and thanks for wearing that green shirt.
We'll see you on Sunday. under the green tent. I'll be the guy in purple, eating your pretzels.
That's right.
Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are merging the streams of sports on the WNST side and all the other cool local stuff we're doing. Rob Halford from Judas Priest just sent me a book. He's coming on next week. We had Nancy Pelosi, the Madam Speaker, on. All sorts of good stuff out, including Vince Bagley, old tape that I found, and an incredible interview with the guy who wrote a book on Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen before Van Halen won, named Greg Renoff. You find all that out at Baltimore Positive, including all the other stuff we've done, Steny Hoyer, Dutch Rupersberger, and all the cool stuff that Don and I are bringing together. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore Positive with Philly people.